Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-minute history videos. And today I'm on Pratt Street. I hope you can see the sign behind me. And I bet if I asked who is Pratt Street named after, many of you, most of you, maybe virtually all of you, myself included until recently, would have said Enoch Pratt, the library guy, but would all be wrong. In fact, it was named for Charles Pratt, a member of Parliament in the years leading up to the American Revolution that fought for the colonists in his debates. We're also going to talk about Holliday Street, where it got its name. No, not Billie Holiday. And Gough Street in East Baltimore, wrapped up in the founding of American Methodism. These stories are fascinating. Equally fascinating is the story behind these stories. And let's start with a word on that. And for that, we turn to a gentleman, William Stump, a Baltimore Sun reporter, who between 1949 and 1954 wrote a series called Man on the Street, where he researched and wrote about the backstories, if you will, of names like Holland's Market and Druid Hill Park and Merriman's Lane. He wrote many of them himself. Some of them he got help from his colleagues at the Sun, Elizabeth Moberly and Ralph Reppert. But if you read the bylines of his stories, a number of them were written by people named James Bertram and Henry Rausch and Karen Richards. And it turns out all of those are made up. He himself wrote virtually all of those stories. Maybe he was a little shy. Maybe he wanted to diffuse the credits. Maybe he thought more authors would be better for his series. But for whatever reason, all of them were really pretty much written by William Stump himself. We have to thank another Sun reporter, Chris Kaltenbach. I hope I'm saying that right. In 2014, he put all of the Man on the Street stories together in a book, also called Man on the Street. So thank you to Mr. Kaltenbach, as well as William Stump, his colleagues, both real and fake. Let's jump into Pratt Street. Now, Enoch Pratt certainly was a great guy. He gave us the Pratt Library System. He gave us Shepherd Pratt Hospital, but he did not give us Pratt Street. For that, we turn to Charles Pratt, who was born into an elite English family, went to Eton and all of that, went on to become the Attorney General of Great Britain, as well as the Chief Justice. And throughout his career, he was a staunch defender of the British Constitution. When Great Britain passed the Stamp Act, that act that put a tax on paper goods in America, the stamp, by the way, was the proof that you complied. Pratt was furious and debated in the House of Parliament that it was unconstitutional. The colonists were being taxed without having a vote in Parliament. No taxation without representation. Eventually, he won and the Stamp Act was repealed. The colonists were very grateful to him. Many colonies, Maryland included, passed resolution of thanks. Baltimore town, we went one further and named a street after him. We may have actually named a second street after him, although the historical records are a little murky. When Pratt entered the House of Lords, he entered as the Earl of Camden. If you know Camden Street or Camden Station or Camden Yards, the B&O warehouse, or our ballpark, Oriole Park at Camden Yards, all may have been from Charles Pratt. All right, let's jump over to Holliday Street near City Hall. The confusion here is whether it's named after our great jazz singer, Billie Holiday, and the answer is no. If you read carefully, the street name has 2 L's. The jazz singer has just 1 L in her last name. And in fact, it was named after a sheriff of Baltimore County, John Holliday, in a pretty mundane way. He owned land near City Hall, and when the town went and built a street, they named it after him, the landowner there. But Holliday has a more colorful story himself. As sheriff, one of his duties was delivering the ballots, people's votes, to Annapolis, to our General Assembly. And apparently at least one time, some of those ballots had missing names or missing information, or maybe even missing ballots themselves. Election fraud. And he was caught. The General Assembly reprimanded him and ordered that he be fired. Only the order was kind of lost on the way back to Baltimore, maybe, and he was never fired. So the election fraudster does not go to jail. He gets a street named after him in downtown Baltimore. All right, finally, let's jump on over to Gough Street in East Baltimore and talk about that. It's named after a gentleman named Harry Gough. Gough was the wealthiest man in Baltimore at the time. He had $300,000 in his bank account. He had a fine brick house in Baltimore, and he had a mansion out in the countryside called Perry Hall. If you know Perry Hall Mansion or the community Perry Hall that grew up around it, that's our guy, Gough. The story goes that he was furious with his wife, Prudence, who had heard the young Methodist preacher Francis Asbury and had converted. He forbade her from going to Methodist services, but one day decided to go himself to make fun of it or pick it apart. He went in with that skeptical attitude and he came out converted to Methodism. That may be a little bit apocryphal, but we do know when that Asbury came to Baltimore in 1784 in December, he stayed at Gough's Perry Hall Mansion. And from there, a group came down to Lovely Lane Meeting House and founded Methodism by creating the documents, the charter, and the orders of discipline around it. Lovely Lane is still there. If you go to the Chesapeake Shakespeare Theater, you can see a plaque talking about this. And Lovely Lane Church is now on St. Paul Street, the mother church of American Methodism. Wow, all of that behind a street name. That was fun. Let's do it again with some more in a couple weeks. We'll see you then.